Nani alisema?
Sasa wewe. Yeye mwenyewe anasema hajui
kuvote. No, we can contest. Muone huyu mtu anaendesha mpaka ndege. Get out. Atoke tu. Sasa ndamuuliza maswali gani hivi? The video, it was the characteristic.
Endelea na lugha ya taifa.
Hata wewe ile Kizungu.
Kizungu gani hiyo ya characteristic?
Good morning. Where are you watching us from? Welcome to Good Morning Kenya. My name is Mike Migwi and the show is well and ready prepared for you. Unatutizama ukiwa wapi? Today there's a lot to talk about, and one of the things we are going to look at is how AI can be integrated with the human workforce and the opportunities that are there, and how reskilling and upskilling can help in adapting to the changing landscape, especially when it comes to jobs. I'll be having that conversation with none other than Arnold Ochieng, who is the General Manager of Workforce Africa. You want to tune into that conversation right about now. Vivian.
Yes, Mike.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Good morning to each and every one of you who is tuned in this morning to Good Morning Kenya. As usual, thank you for choosing us to start off your morning. As Mike has mentioned, we have a packed up show lined up for you, and including the AI conversation that he will be having, we will also be having a conversation on preventative medicine and natural remedies. You want to know what that will be all about. And then later on our Women at the Forefront segment at around 9 a.m. I will be speaking to one Selina Mwende. She is a mental health advocate. Regina, how are you?
Good morning to you, team. Good to see you. Good to see you, Vivian. Karibu. We have so much also lined up for you in as far as news updates, stories that have been making headlines in the last 12 hours, including the fact that a High Court judge barred police from using force or arresting doctors during protests. Now Jairus Nyaga issued the orders in a case filed by 9 human rights groups. Medics and other factions, including clinical officers, have been holding protests and demonstrations on what they call unmet demands from the government, according to a CBA dating all the way to 2017, 2016, thereabout. It has ran past 1 month now. And the Council of Governors yesterday took a direction and said that they should consider them fired, especially the intern doctors. But can we survive as Kenyans without medics, that is nurses, clinicians, lab techs, doctors from our hospitals? And this leads to a story that maybe my colleagues are going to be analyzing for you, that has been captured by various dailies, and this is a pain at public hospitals where families have lost loved ones because of the ongoing stalemate, so to speak, between doctors and the government over one of the issues that has been raised is the unmet demands. According to the CBA, they're talking about salaries, and the government says that their demands are are actually untenable. However, we had the Council of Governors saying that they're willing to have a negotiation, or rather sit at the negotiation table. So we'll be keeping tabs on that, as well as we are like 1 month and some 2 weeks away from the presentation of the finance budget 2024-2025. The government has been running a public participation some few weeks back. We hope you got an opportunity to put in some of your views on what should be prioritized, to what extent and such. So we're going to be keeping developments of that because government has pronounced itself that it is working at lowering the cost of living, but in a ton of events, Kenyans are already questioning the government in regard to that move, with the developments regarding the chief administrative secretaries. There's also plan yesterday to lower the wage bill from the current 46% to 35%. And what Kenyans are asking on social media exactly is, how does the government intend to do this? Well, let's try and answer some of the questions that are being raised on our various candid conversations here on KBC Channel 1. But for now, let's speak matter news, and you can be part of our conversation. You can get us on our official X handle at KBC Channel 1. Now we start off with the issue of striking doctors, where the Council of Governors has vowed to institute disciplinary action against health workers who have absconded duty, contrary to a court directive against the ongoing industrial unrest in the health sector. COG Chairperson Anwar Guru further cautioned the national government against implementing the collective bargaining agreement, saying it will have a ripple effect on public service.
Governors say the ongoing strike by medics is choking health services in the counties.
The Constitution defines doctors as essential workers, and therefore they are not expected to abandon their stations of duty.
Parties are yet to agree on the favourable outcomes 5 weeks into the industrial action.
Currently, a county senior medical officer who's a doctor is paid roughly 479,000. This constitutes a basic salary of 203,000, an emergency call allowance of 80,000, a house allowance of 56,000, a commuter allowance of 20,000, a non-practice allowance of 60,000, an extraneous allowance of 40,000, and a risk allowance of 20,000, bringing the total to about 479,000 per month.
The Council of Governors has called for caution in implementing the collective bargaining agreement.
This would have a ripple effect on all civil servants' basic pay and will therefore require additional allocation of resources to county governments to be able to carry out this task.
The county bosses further noted the constrained resources in the health sector.
County governments will undertake the costing of doctors on postgraduate studies for purposes of allocation of resources for recruitment to fill the gaps and offer services during this training period.
So far, no party appears keen on concession, with governors threatening to take drastic action against the striking health workers.
Contrary to the court directive, and therefore county governments will have no choice but to institute disciplinary action against them according to the Employment Act, where if you abscond duty for more than 21 days, the county governments and the national governments are given the responsibility to take action.
The Council of Governors says the whole-of-nation approach taken by the court is not tenable, as the national and county governments are independent and distinct employers.
We'll continue keeping tabs on that. Who blinks first as the public hospitals bleed, literally. Now, former Director General of the National Museum of Kenya, Mzalendo Kibunja, and entire administrative officers have been charged for embezzlement of 491 million shillings from the organization. Kibunja was arrested on Monday by EACC detectives alongside 3 other suspects and spent the night at Integrity Center police station before being arraigned at the Milimani's Anti-Corruption Court Tuesday. Details of this in our Skills of Justice segment.
Mzalendo Kibunja Stan Vasongalo, the Director of Human Resources, Administration ICT Officer Oliver Okinyi Rabor, Wycliffe Odhiambo Ongata and Oscar Mwaura, before Anti-Corruption Chief Magistrate Victor Wahumile.
You used your office to improperly confer a benefit of 441,392.75 shillings as salaries and gratuity to persons purportedly employed by the National Museums of Kenya. Is it not or not true?
Your Honor, not true.
According to the prosecution, the suspects allegedly mismanaged public funds through irregular payments of salaries to ghost workers who are later transferred to senior officials purportedly employed by the National Museums of Kenya.
This is where Pontius Pilate found himself when he was actually making a decision on Jesus Christ. Public interest. Your Honor, I actually urge you not to be convinced by that. Let these people be out. Like my client was actually not even summoned. He went yesterday. After seeing the press release, he took himself to EACC in the morning.
Your Honor, I would plead with this honorable court to consider favorable terms of bail for the first accused. For the reasons that the first accused is the government of, he has worked for the government of the Republic of Kenya for well over 30 years.
Dr. Wahumile, while giving his ruling, directed them to deposit travel documents with the court and refrain from attempting to contact witnesses that have been lined up by the state.
So the orders are as follows. Number 1, each accused person may be released on a cash bail of Kenya shillings 5 million or a bond of Kenya shillings 10 million.
Also charged companies associated with the accused persons. Pre-trial is set for 2nd May this year.
Number 4, bond terms for accused number 4, 5, 6, 7, 3 and 8 are hereby consolidated. The matter shall now be mentioned.
It was a helter-skelter Tuesday for ex-boss National Museums of Kenya and 4 other co-accused persons. From the EACC to the courts here at Milimani, where 10 offenses were placed against them for embezzling public funds. Ruth Wamboi reporting from Milimani Law Courts.
Kenya is committed to enhancing its bilateral ties with South Korea to boost trade and economic opportunities. President William Ruto, while meeting South Korea's special presidential envoy and first Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs Hong Kim at a State House, Nairobi, underscored the value Kenya put in its partnership with South Korea in the development of technical and vocational education training, that is TVET, public health, water and sanitation, as well as ICT sectors. The president, who attended the forthcoming Korea-Africa summits, committed to escalating Kenya's collaboration with the Asian nation. The two leaders agreed to align Nairobi and Seoul's position to promote adherence to international laws to foster global peace and stability.
Last month, when thanks to your leadership, the event was successful. So we believe she will be a good ambassador and we hope that with your excellency in June, Korea is going to host the first ever Korea-Africa to find out your excellency's decision to participate in this.
Information, Communication and Digital Economy Cabinet Secretary Eliud Owalo now wants Parliament to regulate TikTok instead of banning it. Appearing before the National Assembly Petitions Committee, Owalo said banning TikTok will deny millions of youth daily earnings and cause a mass exit of private sectors operating in digital spaces. A section of members of Parliament, however, are concerned about the government's capacity to regulate the content before it is published on TikTok.
Responding to a petition before the National Assembly that proposes a ban on Chinese social media giant TikTok in Kenya, Information, Communication and Digital Economy CS Eliud Owalo implored MPs to allow social media platforms to self-regulate as the government monitors compliance with existing frameworks. The CS argues that a total ban on TikTok will go against the government's ambition to assist Kenyans in accessing digital jobs.
Today we have got a lot of private sector entities who are already creating youth for jobs for our youth in the digital space. So I just wanted us to take that example, our practical working arrangement with members of parliament to create jobs for our youth in the digital space, and look at the likely repercussions if we ban the digital platform.
MPs raised concerns over the government's capacity to monitor and protect Kenyans from illicit content.
If something is bad, and we should come out broadly and say this is bad, irrespective of what the world outside there would think about the Kenyan position.
Meanwhile, the National Assembly Trade Committee has given the National Cereals and Produce Board and Kenya Bureau of Standards 7 days to appear and respond to queries regarding the distribution of fake fertilizer. The heads of the two state agencies failed to appear before the James Gakuya-led committee, citing sick leave.
That particular saga or state corporation must be represented in the next meeting, whether the MDs are within the country or out of the country.
And the National Assembly Administration and Security Committee is considering the bribery amendment bill that seeks to commission police uniforms without pockets.
If you look at Dubai, they don't have traffic officers. They just have an integrated intelligent traffic system.
The bill, sponsored by Bomachoge Borabu MP Obadia Barongo, also seeks to install CCTV cameras to monitor the behavior of traffic police officers.
Are we proactive or reactive? Proposed uniforms, police uniforms, to have no pockets. Well, we'll be keeping tabs. To the counties. 2 family members and a father and son have been murdered in Sorok sublocation, Baringo Central, Baringo County, over land dispute. According to the family of the deceased, the 2 were in the shamba before a group of people descended on them with pangas. This and more in our county news roundup.
According to the police, the father died on the spot while the son died while being rushed to the hospital. The police have, however, said that they are in pursuit of the suspects who are currently at large.
And Patrick Komen, the son to the deceased, was critically injured and rushed to Baringo Referral Hospital, who later succumbed to the injuries. The attackers, who are known to the people, disappeared, and they are still at large, but we are in hot pursuit. We are just asking them to surrender to the police because we are zeroing in.
Meanwhile, some 465 people living with disabilities in Embu County have received equipments and cash worth 15.2 million shillings, courtesy of the National Fund for the Disabled of Kenya. The equipments include sewing kits, farming tools, mobility devices, and salon equipments.
Kile ambacho tungependa kuona ni ukiuza vyombo ambavyo mtakavyopewa. Hiyo hatutakubali, kwa sababu ukiuza kitu ambacho umepewa, sasa wewe umejinyima mwenyewe haki ambayo umepewa na Mwenyezi Mungu kupitia kwa mikono ya the National Fund.
Elsewhere, medical herbalists from Meru County, operating under the umbrella of the Meru Culture Union, have urged the national government to amend current laws that regulate traditional medicine to safeguard herbalists against harassment.
Kwa hivyo sasa tunaomba National Assembly na pia County Assembly kama wanahusika na hii maneno ya Act na Constitution of Kenya waingilie kati ndiposa waweze kuprotect herbalists wetu.
And finally, 15 young men and women from Machakos County have been selected to join the Kenya Wildlife Service as security rangers. Graduates from the National Youth Service were given priority in the exercise.
Matters business, Juakali artisans have secured a deal for the fabrication and supply of steel doors and windows for the construction of affordable housing units in Majimbo area, Embu town. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua says artisans are playing a crucial role in the implementation of the affordable housing project countrywide.
The National Housing Corporation and Embu Juakali Business Inclusivity Craft Workers Association have been targeting thousands of skilled youth who are already benefiting from the multi-billion housing project being rolled out in various counties. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua says the move will create more opportunities for the artisans.
Hii programu ya affordable housing, na rais alieleza lengo lake ni mara mbili. One, watu wapate nyumba nzuri za kukaa. Lakini sana sana sikijengwa vijana wetu na wamama wapate ajira.
These sectors is the Juakali sector and agriculture. Affordable housing is one of the key pillars that enables the Juakali sector to absorb millions of Kenyans by offering them employment.
Gachagua says the flagship affordable housing project has been designed to benefit millions of jobless skilled youth who have been deprived of work for years, while at the same time challenging them on obtaining certification for their skills.
Sasa tumeanza program ya kusema nyinyi muende pale kwa polytechnic, pale kwa ministry ya industry, mfanyiwe mtihani, mawe uweke kabiro, ikiingia unapita.
Currently, over 100,000 affordable housing units are under construction in various parts of the country.
The Institute of Public Finance wants the government to prioritize social spending in this year's budget to caution vulnerable in society. The Institute's CEO, James Muraguri, says the proposed budget cuts in key health sectors like health, agriculture and education will have an adverse effect on the cost of living and the general economy.
The draft 2024-2025 budget is estimated at 4.1 trillion shillings, of which 1.24 trillion shillings is for the consolidated fund services, mostly to be used in servicing debts. However, the Institute of Public Finance warns that extending budget cuts on key sectors to prioritize debt servicing will affect the overall economy and increase the cost of living.
The thing that the government is doing is very important, but what is our priority? We must ask what our priorities. But we know paying bills is important, health services are important, education is important, agriculture is important.
Muraguri says the 12 billion shillings reduction in the proposed budget for the crop development subsector is likely to see a reduction in the subsidized fertilizer program beneficiaries.
It's very important that we consider fiscal consolidation not in the vulnerable sectors so that we attain economic growth.
The Institute of Public Finance is calling for prioritization of settlement of pending bills by government agencies to stimulate economic activity, enable businesses to create more wealth and jobs that will generate additional tax revenue.
We have lost contractors in this country. The people have gotten into depression, committed suicide, because some of them borrowed loans from banks.
The Institute of Public Finance wants the national government to fully devolve functions worth 272 billion shillings to avoid duplication of roles.
It will stop duplication of efforts, and we can free up some bit of resources at the county level, because we can take delivery of service at the county level is more efficient.
We were telling the Auditor General to help us track and advise and tell us what is the impact to the nation in terms of all these individual funds.
Let's still proceed with matters business. Locally trained engineers will be able to practice across the globe by June 2025 when Kenya attains provisional status under the Washington Accord. Engineers Board of Kenya Chief Executive Engineer Margaret Ogai says this will create more employment opportunities for engineers as well as encourage uptake and practice in the field. More than 15,000 graduate engineers are registered at the Engineers Board of Kenya. However, there are about 3,000 professional engineers. This has been attributed to the high cost of specialized training and limited opportunities for those in the engineering field.
Getting very elaborate partnership between the
academia and the industry, and us at the center as the regulator, to make sure that the programs taught in the universities fit into the industry.
Kenya hopes this will be corrected by the coming into force of the Washington Accord, which is a multilateral agreement between bodies responsible for accreditation of engineering qualifications to assist in the mobility of professional engineers globally.
The outcome would be that we'll have engineers who will then be recognized internationally. If you graduate from a Kenyan university today, you can go and get employed in any part of the world. And this will support export of engineering services and skills as we're still looking to bring employment into our country.
Speaking during the launch of the 5th edition of the Engineering Partnerships Convention, Rhodes Principal Secretary, Engineer Joseph Mbogwa, urged engineers to incorporate data, climate change trends and emerging technologies when undertaking projects.
Ensure that we bring down the cost of construction and operations of many of our aspects in this country. And again, once you bring down the cost of doing business, then again, this will create space for many more engineers to be engaged.
We are excited to share our accomplishments and future plans with you and look forward to gaining valuable insights from your experience and perspective.
That particular convention is going to be happening in the first week of May, where over 3,000 participants have already expressed interest in this particular convention that is refocusing. It's actually themed refocusing and re-strategizing and investing in matters engineering for getting local solutions for the problems that we currently have. Now, plans are underway to set up government-backed apps dedicated to marketing various products by artisans. Cooperatives and MSMEs Development Cabinet Secretary Simon Chelugui says through digital marketing, products made by artisans will attract buyers across the globe.
Even though micro, small and medium-sized enterprises make unique and quality products, most of them do not have marketing budgets to promote such products. Cooperatives and MSMEs Development Cabinet Secretary Simon Chelugui says there are plans to bridge this by leveraging online platforms through establishment of government-backed apps.
Tunataka kuweka hii shondo kwa internet. Ndio wamama waweze kununua hizi shondo wauze. Sio hapa Murang'a peke yake, sio Kenya peke yake, tuuze hata kule nje.
Speaking during Kigumo Basket Weavers Expo and Fundraiser, Chelugui challenged artisans to form or join cooperatives so as to access financial assistance from the government like it is the case for coffee, dairy and avocado farmers. He also tipped them on how to benefit from state agencies such as Kenya Industries Estates, the National Youth Opportunities Towards Advancement Project, Asla Fund and Uwezo Fund.
Na sisi pia kazi yetu ni kuwaleta kina mama na wale wote wanaofanya kazi kutumia mikono yao kuhakikisha ya kwamba tumeweka pamoja. Wakishakuwa cooperatives, Mheshimiwa Chelugui anachukulia kutoka hapo.
Pesa ya mwenye basket isikuwe inapotea. Hatutaki broker hapa katikati.
We head to sports, where Kenya under-20 head coach Simon Jachwire has named a 28-man Chipu squad to this year's Rugby Africa Under-20 Brothers Trophy, slated for 20th to the 28th of April in Harare, Zimbabwe. The Kenyan team will leave the country on Thursday ahead of the commencement of their campaign against Namibia on Saturday.
Edmond Omondi will captain the side that has 9 returning players from the squad that did the duty at the World Rugby Under-20 Trophy held last year in Nairobi, namely Gaylord Ngasi, Andikolo Omondi, Ido Kuta, Wycliffe Oguta, Nathan Tisindoli, Patrick Wainana, Faran Juma, Michael Wamalwa and James Olela.
Many showed interest, many came through. We've had to travel up and down the country, and eventually we were able to put together, I think, over the period, a group that I can say is ready to represent, ready to put their best foot forward.
Also making the cut are Alvin Kavuli from Oilers and Philip Okeo, who have been standout performers in the Kenya Cup for their club sides Menengai Oilers and Nakuru.
And skillful of boys here.
the 28 squad. We are going to represent Kenya. We assure you that we are going to bring the cup home.
This year's tournament features 4 teams led by host Zimbabwe, last year's runners-up Kenya, Namibia and Tunisia.
The winner of the Under-20 Bates Trophy goes on to the World Under-20 Trophy. So it is quite a big event. There's only one qualifier from Africa because the event this year, the Under-20 Trophy this year is being held in Spain. So it is up to us to put our best foot forward.
The Kenyan team will leave the country on Thursday ahead of the start of their campaign against Namibia on Saturday, before taking on Tunisia on Wednesday next week and completing their campaign with a clash against host and defending champions Zimbabwe on Sunday 28th April.
Well, that puts a cap on matters in the headlines. Be sure to log in on our website, that is www.kbc.co.ke, for further details. Right now, I leave you in the able hands of my colleagues, Vivian and Mike, as they take you through the various stories that have been captured and prioritized by various scribes across the country, as we are on the lookout for what is going to be happening at the DP's residence in Karen, where it's going to be meeting a UN high delegation. There, a series of matters are going to be definitely discussed, especially on matters security. We'll be keeping tabs, so do keep it right here. I'm Regina Manyara. I wish you a pleasant day ahead. But before I wind up, I want to take this opportunity to do, what is it called? An acknowledgement and a thank you to one Mary Ndolo of Azure Pride Inn in Westlands here in Nairobi. And yesterday she saved a crisis, and she did not know me as a client, but she took care of an emergency, which my very well able producer was a witness to. So thank you. Kindness still is not timid and still does exist. So be kind. Have a great day ahead.
Welcome to you in Cannes of the Al Food South Africa Cup of Nations.
Excellent skill. Really, in this much moment, a good break and a score!
把枪放下。
不亏。行嘞，你是不是挂彩了？赶紧歇着去。时间的尽头。
All right, let's take a look at what is making headlines in our local dailies, and let me start with the Star. Wage bill crisis, COB Council. Some counties spend up to 75% of revenue in paying employees' salaries. That story is carried on page 6 of the Star newspaper. The Controller of Budget, Margaret Nyakango, sounded a warning especially to devolved units, asking them to stop hiring new staff. You will find that story on page 6 of the Star newspaper. City traders decry lack of fresh air as roads made inaccessible. There's a photo here showing the state of waste within various parts of the city, and the story is fleshed out on page. It's saying Peter Mulwa, a trader, displays the mess at Muthurwa Market, right? Traders go about their businesses at the dirty market. The traders have accused the Nairobi County government of neglecting its responsibility of making the place clean. Another story that is making headlines in the Star newspaper is governors threaten to pull out of talks on doctors' strike. That story is fleshed out on page 9. They're saying they will also take action against the absconding health workers who have downed tools for 5 weeks now. Let's see what is making headlines on the Daily Nation. Ping pong as deaths spike. Paying with their lives. The story is saying hundreds of Kenyans are dying at home or in private hospitals, village dispensaries, as weeks-long grandstanding between doctors and governors and the government over the posting and remuneration of interns escalates. That page is carried on page 4, 5, and 6 of this, the Daily Nation. The story also includes a story about a young man's slow and painful death as doctors watch. There's also a story that is talking about how bodies are piling up in morgues as doctors' strike continues, and only contracted doctors who do not belong to the union have been working. Finally, on the Standard, the story that is making headline is school fees. Why MPs oppose the e-citizen way. The story is saying the President Ruto's plan to have school fees cancelled. President Ruto's plan to have school fees channeled through a single e-citizen pay bill number, a move already suspended by court, suffered a second blow after MPs appeared to reject it, saying it will disrupt school finances. You will find that story on page 4 of the Standard newspaper. That is what we have right now. That is a simple newspaper review of the local dailies. You can get your favorite paper and read and get to know what is happening right about now. I'll hand you over to Vivian Ndegwa. How are you this morning?
So much, Mike, and I am doing very well. Now, this is Good Morning Kenya, and we continue with the program. And as I had mentioned earlier on the intro, we will be having a conversation on preventive medicine and natural remedies. And joining me for this particular conversation is Jim Ayodo, and Jim Ayodo is the president of Medical Missionary Movement International, and also joining us this morning is Dorcas Ayodo, and Dorcas is an executive member of that particular movement. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
You're doing well this morning?
Yes, yes.
All right, let us start by defining, when we talk about preventive medicine and natural remedy, what exactly are we looking at?
Yeah, when you say preventive medicine, natural remedies, as we know, prevention is better than cure.
Yes.
You can prevent something before it comes, and if you have ways and means of preventing it, you're safer and better, because when it comes, you're in pain and it costs a lot, it's expensive, so if you can manage it before it comes, that's the best way, because you may not end up in hospital, or you may not end up in surgery, you may not end up in pain, But if it comes, there are other ways by which you can actually take care of it naturally, because God gave us. I'm a Seventh-day Adventist, by the way, and so we use instructions from God or commandments from God in managing our diseases in such a way. There are so many natural remedies that God has given around us. Things that are around you, you can find them cheaply or you can find them freely. You can use that and you can manage some of these diseases. But if you're overwhelmed by it, then you rush to the hospital. So the best way is if you can prevent it, or if you can use whatever is around you to take care of them, and then you hand over.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just want us to clarify something. You know, many a times when we talk about natural remedies, you know, what goes to people's mind is the traditional way of doing things. And also, one may think that you are trying to, we are doing away with hospitals and doctors. I would just want us to clarify that before we...
No, I could say it's like an help aid.
Yeah.
Let me use the aspect of the word disease, we go to hospital because we have a disease, we are sick. But if you actually split that word into two, it says this is. So that means that our bodies, the way they are made, just like, let me look at an example of a machine. If it has systems to tell you that there's something wrong, like if your vehicle, you're driving and then maybe there's less fuel, it'll alert. So disease is lack of ease. So your body is actually speaking to you. It's telling you there's something wrong, And a lot of times, let me give an example. Like when someone has a fever, a lot of times, we think, okay, it's true, it's indicating that there's actually a problem, that there's a child is sick, but at the same time, it's telling you that your body has started to fight. Yes, your body has started to fight. And that's why I'm bringing this, because you say the aspect of traditional systems. In traditional systems, there used to be something called, in my local tongue, it's called fundro, Kiswahili, I'd say dawa ya moto ni moto. And you'd wonder, why am I having a fever and you're using heat? And it's not only in African traditional systems. If you look at even the Scandinavian countries, they have something called a sauna. And people think a sauna is just to go and relax, but they used to do that before their long winters, because during the winter, they have a lot of colds. The aspect of preventative, I'm still getting onto that. They have a lot of cold. So they're anticipating a lot of illness or disease. So to mitigate that, what do? They have saunas. And Finland is a land of many lakes also. Of course, during the winter, they're very cold. Sometimes they're iced over. So what do? Every house has a sauna. Every single house. Has a sauna. So as winter approaches towards autumn or fall, you go to the sauna, you heat up, and then you go and dip yourself in the cold water, frigid, for a few minutes. Then you go to the sauna again. What does that do? It just stimulates your body. So just understanding the aspect that, especially now that we even have science in hospital, we can anticipate that the flu season is coming. We can anticipate that, and we are told a lot of times. So there are things, and they are very physiological, and that's the good thing. And that's what I'm saying. Apart from thinking of it as just African indigenous, there are systems that for now have been researched and show that they help the body to prevent and mitigate in case there are problems. So it's not removing. Health is a big thing. Yes, and the aspect of prevention is just helping to reduce the disease burden by increasing awareness amongst the population, one, and then giving them skills. Some of them indigenous. Indigenous doesn't mean primitive. I think our ancestors were very bright, and there are some things that they say the research is catching up and saying, wow, they used to do this. It's very good, and in fact, as we go, we'll talk about one thing, charcoal, later on. It seems primitive, but it's very scientific, it's very advanced, it's very modern. Yes.
And just before you continue, just to clarify that, just to make sure that you know that we are not advocating for removing people from hospitals. That's not our thing. There's this department of preventive medicine and natural remedies. It's also schooled. You go to school for it, and you graduate for it, and we are specialists in that. It's the Adventists are known for health. The health is a broad thing. It's not just dealing with drugs only, but the way you prevent and the way you can also use natural remedies. So we are not telling people to get out of hospitals. That should be very clear.
Yeah.
Like I've seen around these days, there's this turmoil that is going around that people are chucking people out of hospitals. No, it's not that. Those are just other people that are misusing the fact that there's preventive medicine and natural remedies. So if we talk about natural remedies, it includes a lot of things. It includes plants, it includes the sun, water,
exercise,
fresh air. It's a broad thing, and it's what we have naturally. So as we go on, you'll see how we work.
I want to add something just before you ask. If you talk about the big picture, a lot of our citizens sometimes go to India for further health services. And what we could look at it as is not as looking at it as two separate entities, but entities that can interact. Yes?
Right.
Because if I go to India, it's not a big deal if I decide to use Ayurveda. Yes, and many people do that. I can decide, and even in Korea.
Even in Korea.
You can have NHIF. Okay, they don't have NHIF, but I can have the system, and I can decide, okay, I want to use this, and we can refer one for another, yeah? Because one thing about preventive health medicine and natural remedies is that the focus is more on home-based care. Because yes, I go to hospital, I'm admitted maybe for a week, 2, maybe 3, but in the end, I go back home. Yes, so what do I do? Are there things that I can, if I'm aware of, can help reduce my disease burden, can help reduce my pain, can help even reverse the disease? It's very possible.
Yeah.
Yes.
And speaking about that, what are some of the effective natural remedies that we can talk about?
Let me start with a very simple one. It doesn't seem like so, exercise. Let me start with a simple one that everybody knows. But exercise is medicine. And
it's a good medicine. Yeah.
And I want to give one example. Yeah. Someone, I mean, if you go to the scientific world, they may say it's what is called anecdotal, but this is a relative of mine who had complications of diabetes. Yes, diabetes is a chronic ailment. And okay, basically, long story short, he needed some transplants. Yeah, he needed a heart and lung transplant, and he was put on the list. And he actually went to India. And of course, if you're looking for a transplant, you have to wait for a donor.
Yeah.
So he's on the waiting list. And because of the things that, some of the things, as I said, are natural. Because as I said, most people think you just go to herbs. No. Yeah, exercise. So he decided, okay. As I said, we are Adventists. Yeah? We teach a lot of lifestyle modalities. In fact, we use an acronym called New Start. Yes, N starts for nutrition, lishe bora, yeah, nutrition. E exercise, W water, S sunshine, T temperance, A air, R rest, T trust in God. Yeah. So what? And he was on oxygen. He had to be on oxygen all the time because he was swollen. His heart was failing. His lungs, were almost gone. And while on the waiting list, he said, why don't we try this exercise? Yeah? He had done some things in nutrition already. Let's do this exercise.
Actually, he was already in India waiting for
the transplant.
For the transplant.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he decides today, I mean, he's bad that if he walks, he pants. He can hardly go far. But his wife encouraged him, yes. And today took 2 steps, then 3 steps, then 4. Then all of a sudden, within I think a week or 2, he had a pedometer, so he can see his paces. He realizes he's gone 5 kilometers. Yeah. In fact, his wife now, who's a caretaker, is more tired than him. So anyway, he was called back for some checks, and the doctor, because now, I mean, there was going to be 2 teams of surgeons, the one dealing with the heart and the one dealing with the lungs. So he goes to one of them. I don't know which one he went to first, but the one says, let's say it's the heart. I don't remember which one was first, but it says your heart is fine. You just go talk to the lung doctor. Yes, and he goes to the lung doctor and he says, your lungs are fine. You go talk. Let's come. Then she said, look, let's just all come together because it's supposed to be working together and see this. And he was given a clean bill of health.
Just from exercise.
And you know, in our lifestyles now, and even Mashinani now, we have motorbikes. And I'm not saying that's bad. That has enhanced a lot of things. But making a deliberate effort.
To move your body.
To move your body, even when you're chronically ill. And sometimes I think about even the fiscal benefits, the financial, which is going to cost 13 to 17 million. And exercise sorted it out. So a lot of in our day-to-day, we even have a department special for non-communicable diseases, NCDs, yeah? So, and they do a lot of stuff to help, because most of our disease burden, believe you me right now, is NCDs. That's your hypertension, your diabetes, your cancer. It's not contagious. If I have it, you won't get it. But it's our heaviest disease burden, yeah? In fact, number 1 on the list is hypertension and heart disease, and there's something we can do about it out of the hospital. Not saying we're not going to hospital, no. Beyond hospital, now I have hypertension. What can I do? And of course, even in hospital already, they advise people, do more exercise. Yeah, reduce on this and this. But it needs to be given more emphasis, because those are the natural remedies. Yeah, and there are other things now, other additional things that can help. But I'm just saying that is the scope. We should look at it and embrace it, because the disease burden is there. And we need to mitigate, because health is wealth. Yes, as we are looking to empower our people, if they are healthy, they can work better, they're more productive. It's good for everybody.
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe what are some of the chronic diseases that can be, prevented by this preventative medicine?
And I think she has mentioned a few things here, hypertension, diabetes. Maybe she can just tell us something little on how to manage hypertension. Just a quick one on how to do that.
Let me start from, sometimes maybe some of us, maybe have gone to hospital and your doctor says your pressure is a little bit, maybe someone is listening and that has happened, and they tell you, before I put you on meds, try and do something. Of course, they'll talk about exercise, but there are other things that can help. One is that water treatment, because what happens in pressure, hydrotherapy. And hydrotherapy, sometimes when you use technical terms, you think of some big thing, and it can be made technical, but is any use, just use of water, including drinking water, So, let me just explain what happens in hypertension. The basic, just the basic,
Yeah, please.
Our blood vessels are pipes. Blood passes through. Blood is fluid. The cleaner the pipe, the easier it is for the blood to flow. But if anything starts blocking, then the lumen becomes smaller. The pipe is smaller. So that means the heart has to pump harder to push that. To push blood so you can stay alive. So that's basically the essence. There's a blockage, and the biggest blocker is cholesterol, the biggest blocker. So understand that concept, then I go to how can we help it. Number 1, just drink more water. Many of us don't drink water. We'll have other beverages. For some people, water is flat. Some people, when I'm really thirsty, that's when I take water. But you have to realize that by the time your body is telling you I'm thirsty, it's like an engine that's about to knock, It's like now we can't go anymore. So just have the habit of daily drinking adequate water, and
especially warm water.
Yes, warm water, because if the blood is more fluid, then there is less resistance. That's one, a simple thing. And you can find that if it was a pressure that was slightly elevated, just the water itself might actually reduce it, So that's one. Number 2, water treatment externally, There are many, heat dilates. Heat, even when it's hot, your blood vessels will be open, And even in hospital, when they're given medications, a lot of those medications are to dilate the blood vessel. So if this blood vessel has been blocked, semi-blocked, and we put some heat, it can help. Whatever else we're doing with medication or whatever it is, it can help to dilate. And then on top of that, the heat also helps to, I say the cholesterol is the main thing. Cholesterol is fat, So if there is heat, it'll melt some, if we can use it, if we can use that term, So that will help to reduce. So there's a simple technique that can be used at home called the hot foot bath. And it's just, it's the simplest one. There are more technical things we can use. Taking a bucket, 20 liter, with hot water, not to scald you, please, but as hot as you can tolerate, and putting your legs in, and then you cover yourself with a blanket, just to get that heat. Yes, I may not have money maybe to go to a sauna or to go into a more technical place, but I can do that. And the aim is making you sweat. If your body has gotten enough heat to make you sweat, that heat will open the blood vessels some. And you'll realize, I always tell people this, try this, Maybe you have pressure, and you've had it, and maybe right now, hospital sometimes, even because of the strike, maybe you can't go. Go and do that. chemsha maji, weka kwenye nini, put it in a bucket, put your legs in. Please don't scald. Let me repeat that. But as hot as you can tolerate.
So in that case, you have to test
the water.
The temperature of the water by putting your hands in there for at least a minute, 30 seconds to a minute. If your hands can tolerate it,
then your legs,
then your legs can tolerate it for at least 30 minutes to 1 hour. Yeah.
So you wrap yourself in a
and not lukewarm, because if it's a little cold, it may not do the job. Yeah, it has to be a little therapeutic.
Make you sweat.
Yes. But the sweating is just indicative that there is so much heat, the body is trying to dissipate it, so that heat will help to open up your blood vessels. Yeah. So you do that, you wrap yourself. But then the thing is, when there's excessive heat, you can also get a headache.
You wrap yourself from
the neck downwards. Yes.
In a duvet or a blanket, depending on your size, as long as it can wrap you around, wrap your body plus the bucket, so that the heat can be retained in there.
Yes. So that's why I'm saying it's a simple thing. Even if you're in the remote area, is something that you can do. But then you put what is called a cold compress on the forehead, because the head can get a headache. And sometimes if you have pressure, you also have one of the indicators sometimes is you have a headache. So it keeps the head cool. So the body is dilated. So we dilate as many of the blood vessels as possible, but the head is kept cool. 30 minutes. Take your pressure before, and then take your pressure after. You'll find that there's a drop. It won't probably not drop all the way to normal initially, but there'll be a drop, such that if my pressure was such that it was very high, it comes to it may still be high, but at least it is a safer high. Yeah. And so hydrotherapy helps a lot. Drink water. You can do that external techniques, and there are many others. Some people have bathtubs. You can use them. Yes. People just think it's for relaxing, but it helps even in reducing that pressure. Then the third thing is diet. And that's very important, because cholesterol is the main problem. Yeah? And for that, I will refer you, nowadays you're digital, go and look at Clinton, because everybody knows Bill Clinton. Yeah? Look at the issues he had with his heart. He was supposed to actually have some bypass surgery at some time.
The Clintons' diet.
Diet, yes. And in a nutshell, it is advising people to move towards a plant-based diet, because plants have less inflammation. Plants don't carry cholesterol, for one, and they reduce inflammation also. So you'll find that the more you take plants, and if you just become I don't know what I'd call it, a plantarian or a vegetarian. The more you eat plants, you'll find that less. Of course, the other thing.
But one will argue, I mean, when we are taught in school of a balanced diet, so you need all this, you need the protein, but when you I know there are plant-based proteins and all that.
Yes.
So why is it wrong to take meat? Why is it wrong?
Let me ask that. Okay, I'm taking over everything.
No.
Plant-based diet, we haven't said it is wrong.
Yeah.
See, I've said, especially in the light of, we have a lot of NCDs already. Yeah. And I'll say this, because someone also gave me another question, the Maasai. Yeah. In our day-to-day now, we are very sedentary. So what you could have gotten away with, let me put it that way, because you're moving, yes, you're moving. Now I will eat it and sit. So what happens? Yeah, you're in the studio almost all through. So a lot of work is sitting. You take an Uber, you take a motorbike, you take So what you could have gotten away with now is hurting you. So that's why I say it first. And I said, you can move, and if you can, because someone out there might be like, oh, it's a lifestyle I'd like to take, and we have communities that are actually vegetarian and they live quite well. Yes, they live quite well. So just that aspect, that, as you said, I think you already answered part of the question. We have plant-based proteins, and they're very effective. They're very effective, and there are numerous ones. So like the community, like you say, like many of the Indian communities are vegetarian, and I dare say that they live well, yes, and not only physically as far as ailments, etc., but even, and this is maybe a topic for another day, they're the entrepreneurs.
And also the best quality animals for you to eat are actually eating plants. Yes.
Their diet, they're also on plant-based diet.
Yeah, so just a thought for people, especially because already our NCDs are high, very, very high. Yeah. There was a projection that by 2050, diabetes here in sub-Saharan Africa will have increased by 143%.
By when?
By 2050. Yes, or we'll all be much older. Maybe, yeah. So if we are sitting like this, probably 2 of us would have diabetes, and it's an expensive disease, and it's, yeah. But there are things that we can do to help alert people so that that helps. Now, I've moved from hypertension to diabetes, but it's also a lifestyle disease. Yeah. So when you hear or an uncommunicable disease, a lifestyle disease, lifestyle is key. What we do in hospital, yes, is tidbit.
All right, I'll ask you to hold that thought.
Yes.
We take a commercial break, but we'll be back in a moment.
Na ndio huyu hapa ameshikwa.
Unajua nitakuweka huko nje mpaka amalize kutoa ushahidi.
Mimi naenda nyumbani pasi.
Jaribu.
Nani alisema?
Sasa wewe. Yeye mwenyewe anasema hajui
kutoa. No, we can go test. Uone huyu mtu anaendesha mpaka ndege. Get out. Atoke tu. Sasa ndamuuliza maswali gani? The video, it was the characteristics.
Endelea na lugha ya taifa.
Hata wewe uelewi Kizungu.
Kizungu gani hiyo ya characteristic?
Kenya Broadcasting Corporation is Kenya's most trusted news and entertainment brand. Grow your business, acquire more clients, and reach new, diverse audiences by advertising with us. We connect brands to audiences that matter, driving results for brands and enhancing your current marketing strategies. We have packages for all needs, and no product is too small for us. Contact us today and capitalize on our combined power of radio, TV, and digital platforms. KBC, connecting Kenyans.
God is bringing out the best in my life. Sisi ni wale majibu ya rema. Sisi ni wale.
There is this pressure that you need to make it. You need to drive. You need to have some money. You need to live a good life and live in a certain estate.
The people who are being celebrated are the people who seem to be making it big time. Your beliefs and your behavior, they don't match. There you have a big problem. We call it a dissonance. And it creates a psychological disturbance.
Many young people are depressed because they feel like they have failed. The standards are so high. And they look at their lives and they feel, when will I ever make it?
This is an age when they want to be accepted by their peers. Naturally, that's a natural, it's an innate need. It's a natural need. It's not something they just imagine. It is in them.
Welcome back, and thank you for staying with us. Now, before we took that break, Dorcas, you had explained on some home remedies for hypertension, and you had just gotten into some remedies on diabetes, if we may get to that.
Okay. Yes. But let me just add something on the hypertension. Something that we commonly use at home: onions and garlic. Yeah, garlic has been studied, in depth. Yeah. In fact, even in the some Western countries call it Russian penicillin, because beyond even helping in pressure, it helps even in as an infective. It helps in infection. If you have a cold, issues like that, it helps to reduce. So you can do that also for hypertension, and it helps to also lower the blood pressure.
How do you use garlic for hypertension?
What you do, garlic is very potent, and it can even burn. And I need to put that so that people can know. You just don't pop it all the time and take 6 cloves of garlic, and it can actually burn. If you crush garlic and put it on your skin, leave it for more than like 20 minutes, it'll scald. So we need to be careful about that. So the easiest way to use it is to combine it with onion. Onion is water-based, and so it'll tend to tame the strength of garlic. So you just take 2 cloves of garlic. You can grate, or you can blend with a ball of onion and blend it, and then mix it with some water to make it easier to take in. It's nasty. It's not pleasant, but it lowers pressure because it's actually a blood thinner. Yeah, and again, caution on that, because if someone is on blood thinners, and that's why we say we work together, we collaborate. If someone is on blood thinners, they need to know that. Yeah, the doctor needs to know, because it can actually, So it helps to, as we said, the problem was there's a blockage. So it helps to make the blood more fluid, and so it will help to ease the pressure. So it's something that can help. And so that comes in as part of lifestyle. Now, you don't have to take garlic and onion every day raw, because I said garlic can cause
blood thinner.
It can even, and it can also cause wounds. As I told you, it can scald. It can so it can also scald inside. So you take it for a period of time. Maybe sometimes the pressure, even sometimes on medication, the pressure seems to be resistant. So that can help to lower it. Yes.
Okay.
So on diabetes mellitus is they call it sugar disease. Yeah, and so most people, at least in hospital, you're taught about watching the amount of carbs you take. But a lot of recent studies have shown that the biggest pusher, because most of the diabetes people have is what we call diabetes type 2. And that's because it's what is called insulin resistance. The receptors for insulin are blocked. So they don't have insulin, but they are blocked. And again, that's a fat issue. That's another cholesterol issue.
Yeah.
So we go back to the similar things that affect hypertension, also push. And that actually you'll find that many people who have diabetes eventually also get hypertension. So their diet is very important, Exercise is very important. The first 3 letters of New Start, let me put it that way: nutrition, exercise, water. And the good thing is that normally already when someone has diabetes, they usually want to drink a lot of water. So I think that usually already something they are doing. Then exercise, encouraging them. Then the nutrition. I'll go back to what I said about blood pressure. A plant-based diet, but with complex carbohydrates, Complex carbohydrates are, even if you go to hospital, they'll tell you, if you're eating chapati, try to look for brown. If you're eating ugali, try to look for brown, because it helps to control sugar by itself, because complex carbohydrates hold onto the sugar and release it slowly. If I eat a refined thing, if I eat just sugar straight, it goes to my blood, but because it's already been broken, it goes into the bloodstream very fast. So if I have diabetes, then my sugar shoots up. But complex carbohydrates, because it has fiber, it releases that sugar slowly. So you're using food already to control your sugar issue, and that can help a lot. And I can say now, that there are situations where diabetes has been controlled just using that diet, just using it in nutrition. And very important, especially with the projection, I said that in the future we are seeing too much diabetes, and it's an expensive disease. It is. Both in terms of outlay of means, you have to buy sticks to check your sugar, and the fact that productivity also reduces. I gave you the example of a relative of mine. When he was sick, he has to go for further help. That draws onto finance, but also he's not working. So it can help a lot, because it's a real threat. It's a real threat, yes.
All right. Now, to you, Jim, you had touched on charcoal. We didn't get much into it. You just mentioned it as one of the preventive medicine that is truly effective. So if you can just tell us a bit about charcoal and how to use it.
Actually, charcoal is an adsorbent. It absorbs. It's carbon. If you mention it in Spanish, it's carbon. Carbon simply means carbon. So it absorbs anything that may be toxic or poison to the human body or to the environment. In the environment, it absorbs. So if you have any condition that worries you, if there's any toxicity that may be near you or on you or in you, just apply charcoal. An example, before we even get further to it, we see the Kalenjins, they put charcoal, they add charcoal to their milk. The milk that what do you call that milk? Mursik.
Yeah.
Yes, they have mursik and they add charcoal to it. That charcoal absorbs the hydroxyls that are in there, absorbs the bitterness that you find in the ukali that you find in the milk. So the milk becomes a little sweeter. If you look at the milk, or if you taste the milk from the Kalenjins and the milk from the Kisis or the milk from the Luos, the Kalenjin one would be a little smoother or softer because they put charcoal in it. Another one, in the US, my house was close to where the space shuttle is shot up. Now the space center, what you call the space center, and every time we went there to see or to take people to tour the place, when you get to that place, they tell you that the astronauts, before they actually take off to space, they must have charcoal. In the list of the things that they need to pack with them, there has to be charcoal. Number one is charcoal. Why do they have charcoal? Charcoal helps in nausea. If you're nauseated, there's some people who, when they're traveling, they feel like vomiting. When you take charcoal, you take two tablespoonfuls of activated charcoal, activated charcoal powder. If you activate it, it acts better. But even regular charcoal, you just grind it and you take that and you add to water. Warm water would be better. You add to water and you drink it. It absorbs the toxicity that may make you be nauseated, or the fermentation that may make you nauseated. Number two, it also helps in diarrhea. When somebody has diarrhea or you have food poisoning for any reason, you just take charcoal, you drink charcoal, and instantly it helps you. Another one, if you're vomiting, people who are vomiting, if you're vomiting for any reason, maybe for food poisoning or for any nauseated stuff, or when you have malaria, when somebody has malaria or when somebody has fungal infection, internal fungal infection, you can use charcoal and it will help you. If somebody has taken poisoning, in every laboratory there has to be charcoal. Whichever laboratory you go to, they must have charcoal somewhere for chemical poisoning, or if you come in contact with some chemical that is corrosive, you can use charcoal. You drink it, or you can also bind it. In binding it or making a poultice, you take the charcoal to the quantity of whatever you want to bind, and you mix it with the water, and you can take a little flaxseed, like maybe 3 to 1. 3 amount of charcoal to 1 flaxseed, 1 amount of flaxseed. Depending on what you use, you can use a spoon or you can use a cup, whatever you use. You mix it for consistency, and then you take that consistency, you take that paste, you add it to a white cloth, linen cloth, or white cotton cloth. It has to be white. I'm stressing the word white, because if you don't put white, if it's colored, charcoal will draw all the coloring and add it to you, or add it to the surface. So it's that strong. So it has to be white, plain white. You add it there and you wrap it and you bind there. You add it to where poison is. It also helps actually when you have a snake bite. Snake bite, a dog bite, a spider bite, or any other bite that comes on you, or human bite, whatever the bite, any wound that you have, okay? Any wound that you have, whether the wound is ulcerous or fresh wound or whatever, you bind it there, you put it there for maybe an hour
You
or
crush the charcoal and put it on your
charcoal
wound.
powder.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has to be charcoal powder. Okay, the charcoal powder, you take the charcoal powder and you add it to water, and you can add flaxseed to it. If you don't have flaxseed, you can do wheat flour. Wheat flour acts also better because that acts as a moisture absorbent. It absorbs moisture into it and keeps it wet throughout. If you don't do that, it may dry up and it cracks up. Okay, you bind it there for maybe an hour to 3 hours. You remove it, and then you add another one for another 6 hours. It draws out the toxicity, whether it's a snake bite, whether it's a wart bite. Another one, if you're in a room that is toxic, or maybe you painted the house, you know, fresh painting. Sometimes if you have a painted house and you get in there, you sleep there, you'll feel, you know, stuffy, and you may cough for other reasons, or you may be sick. For any reason of paint. You just take the charcoal. You don't have to crush it. You take the stalks of charcoal and you put them there on the corners. You sleep, and it draws all the gas, the gas that comes toxic into it, and so you can sleep safe. If somebody has maybe stomach pain or stomach ache or gas in you, you can take charcoal and the gas would be absorbed and you won't have gas. If somebody is spoiling the air near you, you just take charcoal and you give them charcoal and they take charcoal and that would be done. Or you just take charcoal. If they don't want to take it, you just take the charcoal and you put near the person, between you and the person, and the gas will just go into that. You won't suffer. Those are some of the benefits of charcoal. Now, charcoal, you can also have charcoal if you have any pimples. You know pimples? Yeah. Or your face is rough for that reason. You can take charcoal and you do a mask. Charcoal facial mask.
Yeah, there are charcoal masks.
Charcoal mask.
That are being sold.
Oh, they're being sold somewhere? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Now, these people know the benefits of charcoal for that reason. And for your reason, you don't have to buy it anyway. You can make your own. You take charcoal powder, and you mix it with honey for consistency, and you take it and you just, you massage your face. And you may leave it there for maybe 30 minutes to 1 hour, or maybe 2 hours, depending on the comfort you have with it. And once you wash it, you'll feel how smooth your skin is. And that's a natural remedy, because some people go to the hospital just because of their faces, the way the face look like. Some people go for surgery, plastic surgery, just because you don't like your face. But you can do charcoal. And you take care of yourself and you cure it easily.
Too many remedies for charcoal, you know.
And I've not even mentioned half of them, just because we don't have time. But there's a lot that we can talk about charcoal.
Yeah, it has so many benefits.
Yes.
And just as we are mentioning the benefits of it, does it have like side effects? Because I can imagine now that we've told people about it, they will be, they can decide to be taking it,
Yeah, let me just mention something. Charcoal is not food.
Yeah.
Charcoal is not food, so don't take charcoal for food. Number two, if you're taking any medication, if you're on any drugs or medication from the hospital, just make sure you take charcoal 1 hour before or 1 hour after. To be very safe, 2 hours before, 2 hours after. Because if you take charcoal with your medication, it will bind it. It takes it as toxic, so it will bind it, and you'll not get the benefits of your medication. And number two, don't take charcoal powder. Don't take it when it's powder. You have to, you have to mix it with water. You have to put it with water, because if you take it as powder, it will choke you. It will go in, and it will, as it goes down, it will be grabbing anything that it finds there, the saliva and everything. It will choke you, and you can die from it. So it's not food. Now, the other thing also, if you take too much of charcoal every day, you don't have to take it too much. You don't have to take it too much. You don't have to take it every day. Take it 3 times a week for your condition for 3 weeks. After 3 weeks, you don't have to take it again unless your condition is advised by your primary health care physician. The other thing you can also take note of, if you take it too much, it will pile up in your appendix.
Yeah, because I imagine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because the appendix, the appendix is a vacuum. So if you take it too much, it will suck it and get it down there. So you don't have to take too much of charcoal. Just take it prescribed. Just the way we've talked about it. If you're watching, just take it as prescribed. 2 tablespoonfuls of activated charcoal powder in a glass of water. Like for this one, 2 tablespoonfuls is good enough. And you stir it to mix it, and then you take it, you drink it. If you're just taking care of these normal conditions, maybe stomachache or nausea or diarrhea or vomit, things like those. The other thing also, if you have ulcers, people who have ulcers, if you have ulcers, you take charcoal, it will bind the acidity that is in you. It will bind it and you'll feel better. It will not cure, but it will ease in the condition that you have for curing. Yes.
If I can just add something, because someone might get shocked. When you take charcoal, your stool will be black, yeah? Because it might shock someone. Because charcoal is a physical agent. It just draws, yes? It draws. It doesn't go into the bloodstream, it stays in the gut. So it absorbs things like reverse osmosis back into the gut, and then it will remove it. That's why it's very good for a lot of, amongst the things he has mentioned, stomach ailments, because it will bind, yeah? And poisoning. Even in hospital, that's what is used when someone has poisoning, some of the things that are used. Yes.
All right, we've spoken about those remedies, some of the very available, easily available remedies that one can use to prevent some of these diseases. And how do we incorporate, some of these natural remedies in our day-to-day? We've talked about exercise, which is something you can do on a daily just to prevent yourself from getting sick. What are some of the other things that maybe one can incorporate in their daily routines to ensure that they keep the doctor away?
Fresh air. Fresh air is important. If you don't have fresh air, your lungs will be clogged. If you don't have fresh air, the place would be contaminated, would be polluted. So fresh air is good because it opens up the lungs, and fresh air gives you enough oxygen. Your body needs a lot of oxygen to metabolize your carbohydrates or your glucose, or your glucose will give you energy. If you don't do that, then you'll be less of energy. Now the other thing also with if you don't have fresh air, a mold will grow in the room. Mold, and mold is very dangerous. And I think maybe she may want to talk about mold because her thesis on master's thesis she had what was it?
Sick building syndrome.
Sick building syndrome. Sick building syndrome, meaning if there's no fresh air in the room, mold will grow all over, and you'll be sick to death. You can be sick to death. So fresh air is good enough. Fresh air also helps in keeping the other bugs away, the other insects that may be in the room. If you open up the rooms, or if you open up the windows or the doors, fresh air comes in. Or if you're driving, now you can remember when you're driving and there's no fresh air in there, the place will begin to be stuffy. And you can dizzy up, and you can cause an accident.
Pass out.
Yeah, you can pass out. So fresh air is important. When you go to the hospital, when you come to the hospital, the first thing they do, if you're so sick, they put you on oxygen. Put you on oxygen, and whenever they put you on oxygen, you see that somebody comes back alive. So what about if you have plenty of oxygen out there? You'd be healthier for many reasons. If you deny yourself oxygen, the more you deny yourself oxygen, the more your body deteriorates for many reasons.
I'll add the R in our new starter. Before that, let me just add to that. Even wounds, there's something, sometimes when you have wounds that are chronic, sometimes just putting extra oxygen, even in hospital, yeah? Because a lot of organisms that decay the wound are anaerobic. They don't like oxygen. So you flood them with oxygen, sometimes that reduces the disease burden. Just an addition on that. Now, rest. It's very important because we are looking towards a 24/7 economy. People are working, and some people think that sleeping is a waste of time. But every time you sleep, it's actually repair. And our sleep today will help us for production tomorrow. Probably you have thought of a day, maybe you didn't sleep 1 day, 2 days. Even normal duties that you do, because they drag. But on top of all of that, if you are chronically awake at night, that also increases your risk for cancer. Most people don't know that. Yeah? Because each time, Kiswahili says, usipoziba ufa, utajenga ukuta. Yeah? Each time there's an ufa, there's a crack, yeah? There's something that is in disrepair. When you're put to sleep, it repairs. That's why sometimes when you're sick, you feel like you want to sleep some more, because it helps. It's like when you take your car to the mechanic, it is put to rest, and then you work on it. So that's very, very important. So it is, we have to have a conscious effort to make sure we put in our 8 hours of sleep, 7, not 2, not 1. Yeah, it helps. It might seem like a waste of time, but when you do it, even your productivity is much faster later on. Yeah, and one thing I just want to notice: the hours before midnight are worth more than the hours after midnight. Yeah,
they
so let's say
double.
Let me give you an example. Yes, let me give you an example. Say I've said, like maybe I've mentioned, let's take 8 hours per day. If you, yeah, I mean every day you should sleep. And then you're thinking, I have a lot of work. If you're a student, exams are coming, I want to read. Just try this. 1 day sleep at 7 p.m. 1 day if you have, 7. You know, you can wake up at 11 and think it's morning. Yes, and how many hours are those? Only 4.
Yeah, 4 hours.
Yes, because those 4 hours, each hour before midnight was double what you'll have after midnight. And I can decide, let me try and get 8 hours after midnight. Maybe I slept at 1 or 2. I might even wake up at 8 or 9, but I'm still feeling tired. Because most of the repair work happens around 10, 11, 12, 1. Yeah, because there's some hormones that are actually released, and that's their prime time. Yeah, because they work on with the circadian rhythms. Yeah, that's how the sun works when it's set, all that stuff. So rest is important, and apart from the daily rest, very, very important. In our busyness, take at least 1 24-hour cycle and have some rest. It helps to rejuvenate. Yeah, because a lot of times, especially if you're self-employed or you're an entrepreneur, you can work 24/7. Yeah, but one day you might be strong, and then one day your body just breaks down, because there's a rejuvenation that also occurs. There's a 7-day cycle. We have 7 days a week. There's a 7-day cycle that your body resets every weekend. Let me put it that way. Yeah, so make a deliberate effort, even if you are very busy, but put that time out, because as you said, health is wealth. If you don't take care of it, it will stop you at one time. If I get very sick, even that busyness, I'll have to stop so I can take care of my health. So it's important to understand
and actually, just to add something little to that, research has proven that Friday sunset to Saturday sunset, the body rejuvenates.
Oh, really?
Yes. It's scientific.
Yeah. Friday sunset. Yeah, and Saturday
to
sunset.
Saturday sunset,
yeah,
the body rejuvenates, because it completes the cycle and it drives the energy, builds the energy for another cycle, a 7-day cycle. So that's the time you need to give it its maximum time to actually rejuvenate. That's why mostly weekends called,
weekends.
Yeah, weekends. Yeah, a weekend. A weekend is a holiday. Some people choose Sabbath, some people choose Sunday, but when you look at Saturday, that's actually the last day of the week. The other one is now the first day of the week. So, but it's still the weekend. You see, it's a weekend.
Yeah.
So Friday sunset to Saturday sunset, the body rejuvenates.
Okay.
That is scientific.
Actually, if you measure, you can do this for yourself. You go measure your blood pressure, your normal blood pressure, your respiratory rate, all through the week, there is a dip. It's like it's telling you it's time to rest at that particular time.
That Friday is slower.
It will be slightly slower. Your pulse rate will be slightly slower. It's like telling you now take a break, take a break. Yes, relax.
And for doctors who are watching, they know something called healing crisis. Most healing crises are actually over the weekend. Friday into Sunday morning, the body has a healing crisis. It's like the body is trying to fight even the more. And most people pass out at weekends, you know.
Okay.
They know what that is, because the body at that time, the body is struggling to get the little that is there, that is left for the week, and to rebuild the next. It's like changing shift. So when the body is changing shift in that, the body struggles to roll over. The disease comes even more.
All right.
That if you don't assist the body even more, you lose. Yeah. So doctors who know at that time, they actually work on the body even more.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, that's actually new. That's news to me. But anyway, thank you so much for joining us for this particular conversation. Thank you for shedding light, and I hope that the people who are watching us from wherever it is that they are watching us, they have gotten to pick a thing or two from this conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right now we take a commercial break, but don't you go too far. When we come back, Mike Megwe will be having a conversation on AI. You want to stay tuned for that.
Are you a talented artist? Or are you passionate about a topic you want to discuss? But money can be very hard to find for an upcoming artist. Don't worry, Studio Mashinani has got your back. Sign up on ajira.co.ke to book a session with our music and video producers across the country. Work on your music, jingles, spoken words, and even podcasts to realize your dream. All for free. Studio Mashinani, Radani Talent.
So welcome to you in Can't of the Al-Food South Africa Cup of Nations.
Excellent skill. Really. In this much moment, a good break and a score!
And it's a goal for Mozambique.
قلبي فاز الصائمون القائمون الراكعون.
Katika mwezi mtukufu wa Ramadhan kunazo natija nyingi ambazo Waislamu tunapata kutoka kwa Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, zikilingana na ibada ambazo tutekeleza.
Ikiwa moto ni mzito, Mwenyezi Mungu anatangaza biashara ambazo kwamba zitawaokoa binadamu kuingia katika moto huo. na anasema kimbieni muombe msamaha kwa Mwenyezi Mungu, na ukishakimbia kuomba msamaha ujaribu sana usirudie lile kosa.
In the heart of the Korogosho slums, a remarkable journey of hope and transformation unfolds. This is the inspiring story of the Mng'aro Mtaani Foundation and its visionary founder, Torres Sam Omo.
I am the founder of Mng'aro Mtaani. Mng'aro Mtaani was founded in the year 2010 through a dream. Also after passing through a lot.
It all began with a young boy's dream. Torres, a product of these very streets, aspired to do something extraordinary, something that would touch the lives of his fellow residents in a meaningful way. His journey started with a simple observation. He noticed the daily struggle faced by the people of Korogosho, particularly the challenge of affording basic clothing.
Being in a situation that I have only one cloth, wearing it daily, going with it in the church, being that sometimes I could love to look decent, but sometimes I didn't have something to put on. The same would happen to my neighborhood and my neighbors. So at the time I sat down and started to think about what can I do how can I help this situation.
Driven by compassion and unwavering desire to make a difference, he launched his first initiative after completing his studies. The core idea behind this initiative was simple yet powerful. They would collect gently used clothing from those who had more than they needed and distributed them to those who had too little. It may have started as a simple idea, but it quickly gained momentum, providing much-needed clothing to families and individuals who could not afford new garments. But the Mng'aro Mtaani Foundation does not stop at clothing. As Torres and his dedicated team witnessed the impact they were making, they realized there was much more they could do.
Nasalimia watu wote wametusaidia na hii vitu, waambie tuko sawa. Wametusaidia sana.
They extended their initiatives to address various pressing needs within the community, such as menstrual hygiene support for young girls and essential assistance for the elderly.
For a menstrual hygiene, to give young girls sanitary towels, and also bring them mentors who can tell them, women mentors who can talk to them about menstrual hygiene, tell them that that is just a normal thing in a woman's life. And that's how we started now giving sanitary towels until we got a support from, I don't know if I can mention, we got a support from Safaricom. They gave us sanitary towels, then with pants, and then we started to run out a menstrual hygiene program in school.
Disaster response, mitigation, and recovery are
right, this is a Good Morning Kenya. My name is Mike Migwe, and we shift gears now and talk about technology. And today we are talking about integrating the artificial intelligence technology with the human workforce. And in studio with me to help me in this conversation is Arnold Ochieng, who is the General Manager of Workforce Africa. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mike. Good morning.
Good morning to you. Now, the first questions that may come to the minds of people when it comes to AI is it going to replace the human workforce 100%? Is it possible?
Once again, thank you, Mike, and good morning to everyone. Definitely, AI is it's a new form of technology that comes with a bit of some complexities around it and some uncertainties around it. And having said that, it's quite 50-50 around in terms of how it's going to, if it can replace fully the human workforce. But again, you have to understand that for AI to be even effective enough, there has to be the bit of a human workforce or human assistance put into it for it to be quite effective the way it should be. So definitely there is no way that it can 100% take out the human workforce around it. Yeah.
And also when it comes to the implementation of the AI technology within various industries, talk about why it is a challenge in terms of implementing it in terms of cost as opposed to using the human workforce.
So the challenges around, first, the challenges that come around with the artificial intelligence technology, given that when the development came in, or the innovation came in, let's say around 2 or 3 years ago, it first came in form of around text, and then now it's been evolving into various aspects. So there's a bit of a kind of a challenge in terms of how do you integrate, or how are you able now to improve on it going further. So definitely it's going to take some bit of effort in terms of how are you going to skill or how are you going to train somebody who is supposed to be improving this system in a way that it's able to grow with the development of technology. And like we've seen in the past 20 or 30 years, technology evolves in bits by bits. So we are at a stage with AI that it's still at the initial stages, but I foresee that with time there is going to be a bit of development in terms of even how we are going to be tackling it, or how we're going to be addressing it in the future. Yeah.
Are there industries that are, or professions that are going to be affected mostly by the introduction of AI?
I'd say that for the professions that definitely will be affected, but not completely affected, because the reason, the technology itself, it's spread across all kind of professions. So you'd find even in the art industry, where that point that we used to have, let's say, the cover models for given advertisements that we used to see on our billboards. Right now, we can see that most of those images can be AI generated. So when you look at even some professions like other professions, the most skilled professions, the finance bit, see that still AI also has some effect on their profession. So definitely, it's not just limited to one. It's not just limited just to the creative industry kind of profession, but it's kind of spread across all kind of professions.
Yeah. Still on the implementation of the AI systems, it requires a significant amount of money or investment. How can that be justified given the uncertainty that surrounds return on investment?
One thing we need to agree that the only permanent thing is change in everything that we are going to be facing in the coming future. When the technology came in, there are certain investments, or there are certain kind of inputs that are required that need to be implemented. You'll see for the case of some of these kind of technologies that are bringing up, most organizations or most kind of platforms are trying to see the best way to be more relevant or to be more creative using that technology. So definitely their main agenda is to try and implement it as much as possible by getting the best out of it. And the return on investment cannot be immediate as per se, but ideally it's something that should be growing on the organization in a kind of a strategic manner, and how the technology is evolving. So with the time, there are certain aspects that will change, and there's some they will tend a certain aspect that will kind of remain the same. So definitely, the ROI on it is not quite definite, but it's quite put in a place where it's something that will be able to be worked on as the organization grows.
Okay. Now, when you talk about integrating the artificial intelligence technology with the human workforce, is there a way that organizations can implement these systems and still to complement the skills of the human workforce? How can organizations achieve this?
Organizations can definitely achieve both of both worlds, given that we have seen the evolution of the kind of skill sets around the technology space. So right now, most organizations are pushing their workforce into upskilling and reskilling in terms of what the technological advancement requires. You'd find in the tech space there are some languages that are quite relevant to this kind of system. So definitely, as an organization is trying to implement this, the main obligation, the main duty is how are they able to upskill the workforce that they currently have, or reskill the workforce that they currently have, to be able to be empowered enough to now control this kind of technology that the organization is implementing. So at the end of the day, the organization is kind of growing in the tech advancement space, but on the other hand, the workforce is also being upskilled and also being empowered in such a way that they're still able to retain their jobs, and they're still able to power and drive this technology that the organization is trying to achieve. Yeah.
So it also brings about the aspect of communication, because when, let's say in an organization, people hear of AI, they think about job replacement. Is it a case, are AI technologies coming to augment or complement the jobs that are existing right now?
The technology itself is, in the way it has been built to complement what we currently have in the current workforce. The reason why I say that, as I mentioned earlier, that the technology itself was developed by a human skill. There's a human kind of brain or creativity that came up with that sort of technology. So now the main purpose of it now is how does it increase business and operations efficiency, right? Then now, as it increases business operations efficiency, there has to be a creative mind behind it, or there has to be a certain workforce, human workforce behind it that drives exactly what it needs to implement or whatever it needs to grow into. So at the end of the day, it might sound like a conflicting two people trying to conflict for something, trying to fight for something, one opportunity. However, the AI needs the human creativity than the human creativity needs the AI.
So does it mean, even with the introduction of AI, it's also going to create some jobs in the future for the humans?
Definitely, definitely. Yeah, definitely the evolution of the AI will going to create more jobs. Yeah, that is able now to even now advance now the technology to where it's supposed to be. There's a recent kind of technology that was invented by the CEO of X, which is now Twitter. That is the neurology kind of technology. So it's kind of fascinating how things are evolving. However, when now most of these things change and evolve, it's going to create more opportunities on how everyone is now able to accommodate it, even now to use the kind of technology that will be evolved at that given time.
Also, a person would argue that the introduction of AI brings about concerns of eroding human creativity and analytical skills. Is that going to happen?
I doubt that. I think the human mind or the human creativity is quite quite creative in such a way that it's always trying to think of the next big thing or the next advancement of that technology. someone introduced this technology, and then now there's a group now that is now trying to even make it better. And there's also, they'll come up another group that also now to try even modify it and even make it far much better. So I think with time, even the human creativity will be advanced so much that the AI advancement will highly depend on the human creativity.
So there will be even chances of working in the development of such systems and also maintenance.
True,
yes,
definitely.
Now, how can organizations now balance between efficiency? Because the introduction of AI is meant to, as they say, enhance productivity and efficiency. How can this be leveraged without encroaching on the unique capabilities of the human workforce?
Organizations have to, first of all, establish exactly what is the direction they want to take in terms of technology. If it involves the artificial intelligence technology, then what is the direction that they need to decide on where they want to go. With that, they have to decide in terms of what kind of team do they want to set up, or what kind of team do they want to have in that organization, on how do they want to build a team around that kind of technological advancement for the organization. So ideally, the organization's purpose should now be trying to create a team or trying to skill a team around that strategic kind of development of that kind of tech space that they want to achieve in a given strategic period that they need to get to a certain point.
Now, let's talk about upskilling and reskilling. We are living in a digital age, and sometimes the two have become very crucial. So why is it important for organizations to identify relevant skills and prioritize them and invest in them so that they can enhance sustainability, even in times where there are operations being carried out by the AI and others carried out by the human workforce?
As an organization, there's something that you need to come up with, which is called a training needs analysis. So in each and every kind of reviews that an organization does to the workforce that they have, a training needs analysis is approached in such a way that the organization determines what kind of skills are required for certain roles and what kind of skills are required for certain positions. So this informs the organizations on how they need to approach kind of reskilling and upskilling. And upskilling is important in a way that you might have the right talent in the office or in the workforce, but there's a certain skill gap that they require for them to be able to contribute to the next level of the organization. You might have the best talent again, but now you need to approach the kind of contribution in a certain drive that requires you as an organization to be able to be reskilling them in that drive towards that given kind of contribution. Hence the reason why I think most organizations, even as they're approaching the AI kind of direction, training is a part. It should be a key part in every organization. So as they're doing the reviews, as they're doing the assessment, the training needs analysis needs to be part of the key objectives for every review and assessment.
Does it have to point back to the level of expertise of the workforce, or it should be done, it should be inclusive regardless of their level of expertise or background in terms of specialization?
It's a little bit of both. There has to be a focus on both, given that you need to determine exactly where does your workforce lie. There are certain skills that as an organization need to determine that do I have the right people for this kind of skills? If they're not, then it means you need to try and get people who are aligned towards that skill. And also if you have the right people who are geared towards the direction of that skill, they need to see a way that you're able now to upskill this kind of set of workforce. So definitely it's a mixture of both and for the organization. So it's for them to now determine what's the approach they're going to take in ensure that they're evaluating their skill set and they're evaluating the kind of workforce that they have directly, that is how is it relevant to the strategic position that the organization is taking.
Now, also, how can organizations engage their human resource, stakeholders, and also customers and regulators to address any societal concern that might arise from the introduction of the AI systems?
Organizations need to focus more on around engagement sessions with both stakeholders. When I say engagement sessions, I mean how are they able to communicate the same. If we see within the workforce that they're currently handling, there has to be a certain structure and approach in the way that communication is done, in the way that they are integrated into the evolving nature of the kind of advancement that the strategic direction the organization is taking. If it's with the clients or the customers, then again another approach needs to be established with the organization. So they have to ensure that they clearly define the roadmap that they're taking, and there has to be clear communication in such a way that everything has a clear direction, everything has a clear objective, and there's a clear opportunity that should be communicated for each party to be able to understand that the reason why this strategic position has been taken is because of 1, 2, and 3.
Yes. Of course, there's going to be a cultural shift in terms of how now work is done in various industries. Are there strategies that can be implemented to ensure there is openness, transparency, and a continuous address to a continuous learning, even as companies try to address the resistance to the introduction of the AI systems?
Culture shift is inevitable in any given advancement of any given technology that arises in the market. That being said, it needs to be approached in a certain manner, because if we remember the recent past, before even the evolving of the computers and all that, there was that issue. People used to use the typewriters, and that kind of age where introduction of computers, there was a bit of a culture shift around that. So definitely, even with this change in the technological space, it has to be approached in a consultative and an engagement manner. You have to understand that the people who are contributing to the organizational growth are currently inclined towards a certain culture. So shifting the culture might be a bit drastic to them. So it has to be approached in a way that they are able to understand exactly why it's happening, and they are able to be engaged in exactly what they are required to do in order for them to fit into the culture that is required.
Yes.
Yeah.
Are there ethical frameworks for organizations to adhere to, especially when it comes to AI development, implementation, and deployment, because it also relates to matters regarding privacy and job displacements? Are there frameworks that organizations need to adhere to in such instances?
As the technology advances, then it causes a risk in terms of exposure and privacy invasion. So ideally, in every given activity or in any given engagement, there has to be that bit of ethical kind of control. When it comes now to this AI bit, that at times it might involve accessing data and accessing private information, an organization has to be very open about what exactly they intend to do with the information they're collecting. If there's a certain legal binding document that they need to share, that has to be very open to everyone to know that this X and Y company are going to use your data, and before even allow data abuse, you're allowed to actually sign it off. So the bit of around, there has to be that bit of control and that bit of kind of being open and being transparent in any dealings that it will involve the information or with activities that the technology will be using.
Yes. Are there metrics to measure productivity and efficiency, especially when it comes to the introduction of the AI systems? Are there ways through which the companies can measure these two aspects, productivity and efficiency?
Productivity and efficiency are activities that require objectivity in terms of measuring.
Yes.
And with this kind of technology, it means when you're approaching productivity and efficiency, you shouldn't approach it in the manner that you are approaching the same kind of activities. We'll take a case example of a given job that required you to be in your station of work from 9 to 5. That was probably the measure of productivity and efficiency for that kind of position. But if there's a technology that requires you to do it and it can get done in terms of hours, less hours, or even, let's say, less than 3 hours, then the productivity and efficiency measure should be structured in such a way that is relevant to the kind of contribution that is being done with that kind of set of technology.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, talk about, because the development of AI and its evolution, there are ethical considerations, of course. But how can organizations ensure that, even before we come to the ethical consideration, there's the aspect of training. Is this training going to be regular, or is a one-time thing? Because we are dealing with a system that is almost self-aware. Dealing with such systems, is it important for organizations to ensure there is regular training, or it's a one-off thing?
One thing about technology is technology changes in a span of a minute. So training cannot be a one-off for such kind of advancement or such kind of technology. Training has to be on a regular basis, whether it's quarterly or semi-annually. That has to be, again, considered by the fact that what are the current developments that are around that specific technology that you require as an organization. If the organization focuses on a specific aspect, then it has to be very alert in terms of what are the changes that are taking part in that kind of technology. So they have to make the changes in the training every time, so that everyone is up to par with what's required by that advancement.
Well, automating jobs around various companies, of course, comes with its own set of challenges. Are there things that you can point out that it will, in terms of challenges, it will be a challenge, even if that there is that implementation of the AI, there are still maybe shortcomings in terms of whatever they are looking for in terms of productivity and efficiency?
Definitely, with every advancement, there's challenges, and the first challenge is basically the resistance from the current culture that is already set. You'd find that, yes, the organization might take steps to ensure that there's proper engagement in terms of the shift. However, the current culture might be a bit resistant to the change, given that they are kind of afraid or seeing it as a risk to their jobs. And in that case, it needs to be slowed in, or it needs to be eased in with specific structures and specific kind of milestones that need to be achieved. On the other hand, some of these challenges around the development and the advancement, it comes with, again, skilling of the team that you currently have. There might be a difficulty in terms of how do you handle certain kind of renovations of that set of technology. So the skilling bit, some of the organizations might be a bit behind, but they need to be kind of ready enough to ensure that by the time they are getting the technology, they are ready to invest in the skill, they're ready to invest in the training, so that in any case of any change, they're not left behind, and they don't have these challenges of where they are still struggling to make those advances or to make those changes.
As at now, why should a person focus more on reskilling and upskilling? Why is it important in this day and age?
It is important for everyone to focus on upskilling and reskilling, given that we're living in an evolving world where things, I'll say, learning and education is free in a way, in such that some of these skills currently are available online. You do not have to be focused solely on the kind of set job or opportunities. We are also living in a world where jobs have evolved in terms of a hybrid working environment, in terms of getting kind of short-term projects or short-term gigs. So we are living in a world where you're able to get more opportunity if you're able to dedicate some of your time to reskilling or upskilling yourself. So it's more for your benefit rather than for you to be, rather than for the market's benefit. So it's more advantageous to your end.
So it's about aligning yourself with the changing times.
Yeah, true.
Now, as we come to a close of this talk, why is it that, I'd love to know, are we going to achieve a 100% synergy between working with AI and human, combining the two, human workforce and the AI systems?
Definitely, we will achieve the 100% synergy, given that there are structures that are in place to ensure that things are moving on in that direction. Organizations currently are trying to realign themselves and realign their strategies towards that kind of technology. So it might take time, maybe a few more years to come, but with time there will be 100% synergy in terms of everyone is aligned towards what's the contribution for the AI to the workforce and what's the workforce contribution to the AI, and then how does the organization blend both aspects into one and try and drive the organizational goal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for making time for us this morning.
Thank you, Mike.
Karibu sana, and we will be happy to host you again. Well, that is Arnold Ochieng, who is the General Manager of Workforce Africa, talking to us about integrating the AI technologies with the human workforce. This is where we wrap matters this segment. My name is Mike. Maybe don't go too far. Vivian will be back with more. Good morning.
Kenya Broadcasting Corporation is Kenya's most trusted news and entertainment brand. Grow your business, acquire more clients, and reach new, diverse audiences by advertising with us. We connect brands to audiences that matter, driving results for brands and enhancing your current marketing strategies. We have packages for all needs, and no product is too small for us. Contact us today and capitalize on our combined power of radio, TV, and digital platforms. KBC, connecting Kenyans.
Yes, you have his eyes.
He does not know you're here.
But truly, we cannot harm Mr. Cake.
You think?
That will be breaking the law.
How do you think J&J was built?
Alice, if anything happens to me,
You'll what?
I will hound you from 6 feet under.
You had only one job, George.
Wacha kunichekesha hivyo, my ribs still hurts.
You should be grateful that's the only part of your body that hurts.
1 minute tulikuwa na yeye. The next minute ametoka nje. I didn't know you were coming back today.
Nah, I just came in to hand in my resignation letter.
If it is about the salary, I can talk to your boss.
Not really. It's not about the pay.
Alice really convinced you, huh?
It doesn't look like a very good day for J&J.
He's not alone.
Uko sure kuna Ronald?
Nani mwingine amequit?
Will you tell him or should I, Ronald?
Huyo Kaikara amekuthreaten na nini?
You mean you are sad because your wife to be had blocked you?
Come see the 7 wonder of the one. Mala is glide.
The love of your life amekupiga character development.
Kamene, I pray for the day you will relocate to the city.
She'll definitely go to the School of Character Development. Apenda asipende.
Haya, mwanaume unaonekana atunalia mbele ya wanawake. Tunakufunga kwa muti. Tunakuweka vipoko mpaka choi wake asubuhi.
If you think your girlfriend has heartbroken you, then haujawahi penda pesa alafu pesa ikakataa kukupenda back, my brother.
What are you even speaking about now?
Classmates. Love you till the end of time.
Wiki hii kwenye Mkulima, tutafuga mbuzi mjini.
Ukizingira shamba yako na ujenge nyumba yako ukiinua juu, hutapatana na magonjwa vile kama pneumonia.
Kisha tukuze samaki katika vidimbwi.
Kwa mkulima wa kawaida ambaye anaweka samaki kwenye vidimbwi, anaenda miezi 9 hadi mwaka mmoja. Kumaanisha mfumo wetu wa kufuga samaki ni mzuri mno, kwa sababu kama hapa tunavuna samaki kutoka kwa kila kidimbwi safari 2 kwa mwaka.
Ungana nasi Jumamosi saa 10:30 hapa KBC Channel 1 kwa mseto kamili wa kilimo.
Na ndio huyu hapa ameshikwa.
Unajua nitakuweka huko nje mpaka amalize kutoa ushahidi.
Amina sasa nyumbani pasi.
Jaribu.
Nani alisema?
Wewe. Yeye mwenyewe anasema hajui kutoa.
No, we can go test. Muone huyu mtu anaendesha mpaka ndege. Get out. Atoke tu. Sasa ndamuuliza maswali gani hizi? The feature, it was the characteristics.
Endelea na lugha ya taifa.
Hata wewe uelewi Kizungu.
Kizungu gani hiyo ya characteristic?
All right, you are right in time for Women at the Forefront, which is a segment right here on Good Morning Kenya that takes place every Wednesday. And on this particular segment, we just bring you women who are excelling in different fields. Today is no different, as we have Selina Mwende. Selina Mwende is a mental health advocate and the CEO Lagape Consulting Services. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Vivian. I'm so honored to be here, and I'm really grateful. My name is Selina Mwende, and I run an agency called Lagape Consulting Services. Yeah.
What does Lagape deal with?
Lagape deals with basically all domestic workers, from nannies, house helps, drivers, errand boys, messengers. Basically, all workers, we are able to give workers jobs, and also we provide employers with employees. So that is what we do, empowering women also, but we also give men. It's not only women, but majorly it's about women. And I say once you empower one woman, you have empowered the whole community. That is my policy. Yes.
And that is actually true.
Yes.
You know, and you are a mental health advocate. And
Yes.
today on the show, I want us to have a conversation on mental health, because I believe it's a very, very important conversation to have. You know, most of the times it's spoken in harsh tones, but we need to shout about mental health. You know, where did your love for this particular topic, that is mental health, come in?
I've been a mental health advocate for quite some time, and I remember even when I was a small girl, people used to come to me with seeking advice, and I would listen and offer them comfort and advise them. So when I learned about advocate, you know, I've been a mental health advocate like all my life, but it is just recently that I learned about the power of advocacy. So let's say a few years I've been a mental health advocate, because I know many people, the way you have said, they fear anything to do with mental health, because the moment you talk about it, people think there's a lot of stigma around it.
Yeah.
People feel like it's something that should not be talked about, because anytime you talk about mental health, people think about craziness, violence, bad things. And this is something that I feel like people should be aware of more, because everybody goes through a season once in a while, and it is not about the bad side of mental health. It's not the negative part that we talk about illnesses. We also talk about mental health fitness. The way you the way you take care of your body. You shower, you pamper your body, you go to the spa, because you can see the physical body. What about your mental health? And you know, your brain is everything. You know, if your brain is not functioning, if you're not happy, then you cannot even function. If you are stressed today, you'll not even be able to perform here. So our mental health is very, very important. Yeah.
What are some of the misconceptions and myths around mental health? Because I know that there are, myths surrounding it. So what are some that you can mention?
People feel like when you talk about mental health, as I had mentioned, somebody is crazy. And there's many people think that when you are suffering from a mental health illness, you have been bewitched, it is a curse, and it is a family thing. And that is not the truth, because anybody can get a mental health issue. Like, for example, you've been having a good job, then all of a sudden you are laid off from work. You know, you're going to suffer, because you are going to be stressed, because your normal work has been destabilized. So we don't expect you to be happy, or you have lost a loved one, Like recently in December, my sister lost her husband and her child the same day. And barely a month, I lost my father. So you can imagine the situation, You've been okay, then something happens that destabilizes you. And then maybe you do something, then somebody can judge